you've got an employee, they've left and they've gone to another company. You did all the right things. You have your agreements in place. You have confidentiality agreements and assignment agreements and all those sorts of things and handbooks and all the good stuff. And this employee goes to a competitor, and you are pretty sure that they've taken some of your trade secrets, whether it's manuals, whether it's it could be a recipe if it's a restaurant. It could be all sorts of different things, right? So here's my question for you: is what do you do next?
Yeah. Well, if you've done your homework on the front end, which is some of the topics we've talked about before, creating processes, creating agreements, creating protections and processes to really protect that information that is so vital to your organization, then the next step should not be that difficult. Okay, so I like to say that when an employee is offboarding an organization, you want to remind them of their obligations to you, right?
You
Including
build that right into that
returning
process.
returning your information. Okay, assuming that's been done. Then I'm not a fan of shoot first, ask questions later. I like to recommend investigations, because if it turns out that you're wrong, you could expose your client to potentially some attorney's fees, among other issues. So I like to see, maybe do a forensic investigation on our databases if possible, to see if data has been taken. And then if that's the case, then I would probably start with recommending a letter to the employee. Okay. If we know where the employee is employed, we may want to send a letter to the new employer as well, putting them on notice that this ex-employee has some obligations.
That's interesting. So you're, on the one hand, you're talking about sending a letter to the employee or the ex-employee, and the other hand, you're talking about sending a letter to the employee's new employer. What are the factors where you would? I mean, do you always send both? What are the factors that go into that decision?
I mean, certainly the new employer is not bound by any contract with you, right? The contract that you have in place is between you and the employee. But by the same token, the new employer may not even know that this former employee of ours, or my clients, assuming, has these obligations, and could be spreading our trade secrets and confidential information on their databases, the new employer. So we're
And they
putting
don't
them
want
on notice of the issue.
and they don't want the liability. They don't want the risk. So
They may or may not be participating in it. Okay. Some say we didn't know. Had we known about this, maybe we wouldn't have employed this person. Or, you know, some may take the opposite approach, like, hey, this is not confidential. This is not trade secrets. We're going to do what we want. And then that really gives you the answer on your approach for next steps, which may include litigation, suing the ex-employee, seeing if there's a viable claim against the new company as well, and then proceeding down the path of litigation.
let's back up. Hopefully we don't end up there, but let's back up a bit. So in terms of this investigation, right? So, and I think this is a good in any context, it's always good to do an investigation first. I see too many people, even just posting stuff on social media, going after people or sending people emails, and just because they're mad in the moment, they send an email. But I think it's a good idea to always do an investigation and make sure that you know what the facts are. So in this case, I'm thinking, most people use tools that, like Dropbox or whatever they are, that you can tell who and when has accessed what and that kind of thing. Are there other things that you're thinking about that people should be doing as part of this investigation?
I mean, I'm certainly not like the IT pro here, but hiring an IT pro may be the right move to actually go into the databases and investigate. Was there anything done improper
Yeah.
here. Maybe
Right.
looking at the former employee's computer. That's something I recommend to my clients all the time. When an employee returns his or her computer upon departure, take a look, see if there was anything that was done that was inappropriate there. Hopefully it wasn't. Hopefully it's just
Yeah.
a normal process here, but you may find some interesting information on there once you get that computer back.
I bet. And and you want to be careful as well that like, you know, a lot of times people will have things that are not work related on there, and making sure you can tell the difference, and you don't start something that based on nothing. So
Yeah, and that's where like the front end homework that we talk about maybe in some of our other videos, setting up the policy, which is this is a work computer, it's for business, it's to be used for business reasons only. And then when you return the computer, to return it as is, free from modification or alteration. Because what a lot of people do is they'll just clean the whole database because maybe they don't want their employer to see some things they were doing on the computer. But if you have an upfront policy about that and you mention it, that's going to deter a lot of that.